Level Up is a regular podcast that brings you topics to help you perform at work and in life at your very highest level. Your host is Dan Chiodo, an executive coach, corporate trainer, and author. He is president of Impact Training and Executive Coaching. And now, here's Dan.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that. As always, we're helping you level up and giving you things to know that help you grow in work and in life. One of the hottest topics today is the idea of business incubators. It can be the perfect start to a person or partners who want to kickstart into a world of success. Our guest today has been on Level Up before. He gave us great tips on how to be a superior networker. But today he switches topics to business startups and entrepreneurialism. He has become an expert in that too. With us today is the Director of Entrepreneurship with the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce in Missouri. It's Doug Hunt. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, I'm so glad that you're going to address this topic because you're the one that can help us out with that. You know, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce was really ahead of its time with the Business Incubator and the Joe Newman Innovation Center, don't you think?
Absolutely. The vision that the late Joe Newman had in building a business incubator in Joplin, even back in 2004 and 5, and then when they built it, and it came online in 2006, we were way ahead of ourselves, and it has been a success ever since.
That's good. Doug, here in Florida, we're seeing so many new organizations like yours start up. So you really came to the chamber at a perfect time to do this, didn't you?
Yes. And, you know, in life, everything can be a perfect time depending on your perspective of it. And there are opportunities all around us to improve and move to that next level, to level up. And that's certainly what we're doing in Joplin with our incubators, because we have two now. And for Joplin to be the size that it is with two business incubators is really a leading and pioneering thing in the incubator world.
Yeah, it is. Talk a little bit about your past experience and how that prepared you for this position.
Well, what's interesting is that list seems to be longer as we gain more experience, but I stepped into my career working 11 years in broadcast television, doing everything from writing commercials, producing commercials, directing the 6 and 10 newscast, and producing thousands of commercials over the 11 years of my career, and was blessed to win several Addy Awards. So I really got to see the business world and small businesses and their passion for how they needed to promote and grow their businesses. And so that was my first exposure to being around individuals that were starting their small businesses. And it meant a lot to me. And then I ran for city council, served 4 years on that. And that was a great education in and of itself. I worked for an ad agency in the transportation industry after my television career. And that made me realize that, hey, I could run my own ad agency, and jumped as an entrepreneur and started my own advertising agency, marketing PR firm, and had a great 17-year run with that. And that deepened my love and appreciation for small business owners because I suddenly was one. And the passion for helping other businesses grow and market themselves was very close and personal for me because I was in the same boat. And so anything we can do to help our small businesses advance themselves and grow, especially startups, it behooves us as communities to do that because they are the ones creating jobs.
Right. And you say that there's one and now two. So what makes these business incubators in your area so popular?
The reason that we had our second incubator online, it was part of the recovery process following the storm that Joplin had in 2011. So that was a federal grant that's part of the recovery grant. And in that, the name of it is the Advanced Training and Technology Center. So it is a joint effort with the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, the foundation, and Crowder College with their IT, as well as welding, their training departments in there, warehouse training, And then we also use that as an incubator for small business startups. So it's a nice mix. It's a multifaceted mix of entrepreneurs, new businesses, startups, as well as one of our colleges here locally that's providing advanced training. And that is on one side of our chamber building. And then, of course, on the other is the Joseph Newman Innovation Center, which we mentioned previously.
So, what makes a person come to your organization to be a part of that?
The passion that we have for small businesses. And much to your point earlier about moving to that next level or leveling up, all of us are a sum of our past experiences. So when I started my business, there were no business incubators. The resources that we have now did not exist back then. And although I'm blessed that I had success and my third year was my breakout year, and then we went into rocket mode. Beyond that, what happened was in the beginning, had there been a business incubator and an entrepreneurial ecosystem that I could have plugged into, that level of getting to that success level to where I could completely sleep at night would have happened a lot faster. So driving the entrepreneurial ecosystem is something that's very personal and something I'm passionate about, because when I see typically younger people that are taking the risk or taking out equity in their home and they're following their dream, I want to make sure that we're doing absolutely everything that we can to ensure that they get to a level of success as quickly as possible. And that's the mission of the incubators.
That's wonderful. Your passion for that really comes through. And if they do come to the center and are lucky enough to be a part of that, it's much more affordable, isn't it, for a business to start up?
It really is. And that's one of the main points that I come up with. So I had a colleague years ago that was a client of mine, and he grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. And he coined this phrase, and it was, in small business, cash solves everything. So when you're running a small business, cash is king. And when you look at your overhead and how you make your projections, which is sometimes the crystal ball when you're starting a business, is to mitigate as much risk and overhead as you possibly can. And that's difficult to do sometimes in a market where we're having shifting prices, et cetera. And the incubator allows a small business, a startup, to step into an incubator, either with a private office or in a co-working environment that's open landscape. And if they want a dedicated cubicle, we charge $250 a month with no long-term commitment. Or if they just want a hot desk where they come in and grab whatever's available, that's $150 a month. Again, no long-term commitment, 24/7 access to the building, no utilities, no overhead, no CAM charges, and they get high-speed internet backboned on fiber on Liberty Utilities. And we take care of all the janitorial and everything. So when you look at that, that sounds good on the surface, but when I have those conversations with the new entrepreneurs, let's say you're 4 or 5 months into your business and you need a cash injection. Then if you want to go to a bank and set up a line of credit, if you are tied into a long-term lease, like a 1 year or 2 year lease, that is going to be a check mark against you if you need to get a line of credit. The beautiful thing about the incubator is, because we operate on a month-by-month basis, now that's not on their books. So the cash flow that they're creating with their new clients, they can leverage that if they need a cash injection. That's a powerful thing for new businesses.
That is good. So I might have an office there, or you mentioned hot desk, which would mean I just have an area. It might be different each time, but that
Correct.
whole hot desking concept, right?
Right. That is exactly right.
Do you find some people who have been in their home offices the past 2 years, as we've gone through COVID, some people are home in those offices, Occasionally I'll have some clients that say, I have got to get out of here. So is that a good thing for them? Do some of them come to you because they just need to be in an office type setting?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Here's the interesting thing about business incubators, though. When I stepped into this position, I did some extensive research on it. And the common denominator, the one word that is the common word among business incubators and the entrepreneurial ecosystems is collaboration. The power of collaboration is, it's hard to quantify it in any given way, because it allows small businesses and new startups to network, to bounce ideas. Even though it may be an open landscape in co-working, this may be an individual that has a mechanic shop, but they need a place just to come in and do their books. And the other one is a cleaning company or what have you. They have the opportunity to get to know each other and talk about tips and tricks of what they're doing in QuickBooks or how they're handling this in their small business. And to be able to see that ecosystem of these individuals feeding off one another and helping one another, that in and of itself is powerful. But we have had people say, yeah, I just got to get out from underneath the house and get among other people. That may be their driver, but what they find on the backside is the value of that collaboration.
I love that term, that whole collaboration, because you could go to some chamber events and certainly network. And each time you go to an event, there are different people. But here you would meet people, they'll be there each day, and you can start that collaboration.
Yes, yes. And I've seen it several times, and it works. I've seen businesses collaborate on what phone systems they use and just various things. It's a powerful part of the entire experience. And what's interesting is, even on our marketing pieces and so forth, we talk about the value proposition of what we provide as a chamber of commerce to assist these small businesses. And even in the membership agreements that we have, the byproduct of that that's not written anywhere is the power of that collaboration. And so I see that as something that it's on my shoulders to make sure that I communicate that with individuals, and then also foster an environment to where that can happen naturally, which we do as well.
That's good. How do you know if an organization, a person, a business, how do you know that they're going to be a good fit for the center?
That's an excellent question. After we have an interview or a conversation and I find out specifically what their needs are, I can get a pretty good sense that they'll be a good fit. The other thing that's interesting about our incubators is part of the agreement is that business consulting comes with that if you want it. So if somebody wants to come to me that's in the business incubator and say, hey, Doug, I need some help on how to communicate this to my clients or this to my employees. Can we set up a time and talk about that? Then that's available to them. But really what I do is I wait for those individuals to come to me for that. And there have been a couple of times we've had people start their business that are, quite frankly, not willing to learn or take constructive criticism, which is an important thing to do if you're a new business, and they don't take advantage of that. And I don't push that on them. You know, entrepreneurs need to be comfortable where they're at. But if you want to be successful in business, especially as a new startup, know that there are systems and processes out there. Find the ones that work, find a mentor, several of them, have your business plan, follow it, and take advantages of the resources that are available to you, not just with the Small Business Development Center, but your local chamber that has a plethora of things that can help you grow your business. And that's critical.
Yeah. So it helps if they're like a sponge and they just want to learn all that they can.
Yes.
Which is much like our viewers. So I think this is a good time to take a break and have a word from our sponsor. My guest today is Doug Hunt. Director of Entrepreneurship at the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. We're going to have some more questions on the flip side. This is Dan Chiodo, your host, and we'll be back right after this. We're back, and I am Dan Chiodo, your host. And today my special guest is Doug Hunt. He is the Director of Entrepreneurship at the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. Doug, give us an idea of what types of businesses find the concept of the incubator appealing.
It's across the board. It could be a cleaning company. Like currently we have a code writing marketing company that does a lot of interactive media work. They're expanding a needed space. We have a couple of not-for-profits that are growing and expanding. We have an individual that's doing a lot of research and development to launch a new business. So they're using it as just a research place to do that research. We have a company that just started that builds fences. And we also have a company that is pretty innovative in the fact that they do COVID testing, but they also do other types of testing. And they've teamed up with a company out of Northwest Arkansas who's patented a device that is very close to being sold to Walmart, where people can do a strep throat test by buying a product off the shelf. So there's a lot of innovation, and it's all across the board. So it's interesting to see a company of that caliber having a conversation about small business best practices between a company like that and a fence building company. And that goes back to the power of that collaboration.
That is great. And I assume that anything done there has to be like a clean industry. You couldn't produce anything. It's simply an office area that you're planning, researching, or
you're exactly
other things, right? Also this term entrepreneurial ecosystem that we hear, this means basically the same thing as the business incubator?
Yes and no. What we think of as the business, as the ecosystem, would be everything that works cohesively together to the betterment of a startup or a new business. For example, in Joplin, we have the Downtown Joplin Alliance. That organization has the Empire Market that has private space as well as co-working space inside their building. There is the Small Business Development Center at Missouri Southern State University. The university is also launching an entrepreneurial program that someone can get a degree in. We have the 2 incubators at the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. So what we do is make sure that all of us are working together, that we're having our own collaboration, and that at any given point, if a new startup or a new entrepreneur steps into that space of a co-working space elsewhere, or they go to the SBDC first, or they come to me first, all of us work together to make sure that they are aware of everything else that's available to them. And so that's our ecosystem that we have currently. And, long-term plan is to hopefully have all of that under one roof, a one-stop shop, if you will. And that's a great goal for us. And hopefully we'll achieve that one of these days. But nonetheless, it's there now and for those individuals to make those decisions.
Very good. I would assume that there has to be some type of selection process before you would be allowed to come into the center. Is there a board or someone who looks over who wants to be a part of it?
Yes and no. In times past, there was a board, but there's such a demand for it now that if I'm basically the filtering process for that now, or whoever would be in this position, that, an intake conversation to find out what they're doing, what they're wanting to do, how they're wanting to grow. And then also some of our funding comes from the Missouri Technology Center, which is the arm of the Missouri General Assembly, if you will, as the state legislatures set aside money for entrepreneurs and the entrepreneur programs across the state. The Missouri Technology Center is responsible for allocating those dollars out. So we get a portion of those dollars and we have to meet the criteria that they have. So that would be one of the filter points to your question. And that is to make sure that it's a company that's moving toward innovation, or at least have a percentage of companies in the incubator that is doing that. And so we fill out a report on a quarterly and a semi-annual basis and send that to the MTC and keep a great track record of that. And we're meeting all of that criteria now. But honestly, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, whatever it is, and I just need space to help grow my business, odds are they're going to be able to come into the system. The interesting thing, though, is the Joseph Newman Innovation Center, since launching in September of 2006, 2021 was the first year that we actually got to 100% occupancy. And there have been a couple of months since then that we've had at least one or two people on a waiting list wanting private space. So the demand is there. And I think that demand will continue to grow in communities all over the country.
Wonderful. So to recap, if I want to do research, or if I have a partner and we want to start a business, if I am a nonprofit, if I am a for-profit, all of these types of people, types of businesses, we should touch base with you. It might be a good fit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's within our Joplin region. But also for anybody else that's watching the podcast, even if it's a smaller community, and even if it's a private venture, to be able to have a space, even in a smaller rural area, where somebody can come in with their laptop in a professional environment, an office, if you will, I think that leaning in that direction is one of the best things anybody can do for new small businesses. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of brick and mortar, depending on what you're doing. But if you're a service-based business, whatever we can do to make that available for new small businesses, or even the new remote workers, we're in the middle of the great migration right now. And so even within the last 6 months, I've had somebody move from California and they're having a house built. But they wanted a place inside an incubator to work because that's such a common thing in California. So they were excited to find us and to get plugged into that. That doesn't mean that demand is not going to be there as well for even communities that are 1,000 or 2,000 in population. So likewise, people that are thinking about, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, even anybody that's in a smaller rural area, call me. If you would like to visit about, I will collaborate with you on things that you could do in your market to start a business incubator to help those new startups.
And so they can find you at the chamber website or another website, which
come to joplincc.com. And then you can also reach me via email, which is doug@joplincc.com. And I have a profile on LinkedIn as well. You can message me through there.
One other thing I'm wondering, the businesses that are there, is there a certain time period they can be there before they graduate? Or
yes, excellent question. Yeah, and that is a term that a new startup business is in the incubator, and the whole goal is to graduate them out of the system. And typically that's anywhere between 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. If we can get them to that point by then, that we want them to get out and be successful and continue on. That's why the name incubator. And even in the last year, it was a real honor for me to have a new business move into our ATTC Business Incubator. And they were scared, they were nervous stepping into that entrepreneurial space. They were forced into it. Not all entrepreneurs start with an idea on a napkin and they're excited. And these individuals, these two business partners, built an incredible business, doubled it in size. And it was beautiful to watch their confidence grow and then get to a point in 11 months where they graduated out and moved away. So that is a huge success story because they graduated out within a year. But standard is about 3, no more than 5 years, and we'll help coach them along to get to that point. And then the other side of that question is for those that have private space and co-working at the Newman Innovation Center, they have a security key card and they have access to the building 24/7.
That's wonderful. So really, whether it is in your area or other areas, we should encourage people to take a look at this. It may be the way to go as they develop their businesses.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say about next steps? What's down the road for an organization like yours? Any new things you're reading about or working on?
I think moving that collaboration to the next level. I think one of the missing links, and this is a program that I'm working on now that I want to launch. So communities can have, whether it's a business incubator, their chamber, what have you, and if somebody says, hey, I think I want to start a business, they reach out to one of those entities. But I also think that there is a portion of our population that is set in their career or their job, and their job does not lend to them being able to get out and network and go to a First Friday coffee or a morning brew or an after hours or any networking event, and they're just at their job. But if they've had the thought of starting their own business, whatever it would be, how do we reach that individual? So I'm working on a program now to build an infrastructure to where we can flush out, find those individuals, bring them in for a half-day event, and it doesn't matter if they're a chamber member. Odds are they won't be, but bring them in, show them what is there for an entire ecosystem infrastructure to help them start a business or to make that educated decision to or not, and bring those individuals in. We really don't have something like that. And that's something that is the next step or the next level that I want to level up to and create that where it could be duplicated in other markets, maybe.
That is great. Hey, Doug, thank you for being with us today and sharing your points of view. You haven't let us down. You always bring us some great ideas, and maybe we can, if we're talking incubators, maybe I should tell you that new program, when that's hatched, maybe you could come back and tell us about that. That would be wonderful.
That would be great. It's always a pleasure, Dan, and I appreciate what you do for small businesses as well. And you are appreciated more than you know, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers too, we thank you for being here. Make sure you take a look at the show notes for this episode, and you will find some of Doug's points listed there. Be sure that you come to the next episode of Level Up, and we will save you a front row seat. Dustin, I think it's time to take us out. Cheers.
If you feel like this information was valuable to you, Dan would love it if you'd click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or thoughts about today's episode, please leave a comment. Also, if you're a first-time subscriber, be sure to ring that bell to be notified about future episodes. To learn more about what Impact Training and Development can do for you and your business, visit impactbydan.com, where you can find more information about executive coaching, corporate training, keynote speaking, and much more. Thanks so much for watching.